Welcome to the show, everybody. Michael with CoronavirusDiaries, and today I am fortunate enough to reconnect with Corey Benson, the owner of Curbside Productions here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities. Corey, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. It's Friday. Fridays are always good.
Yes, sir. So for the viewers, listeners, anybody that maybe hasn't seen other sessions with you or is unfamiliar with Curbside Productions, do you mind sharing a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Curbside Productions is an audiovisual services provider. We're also a rental shop. We specialize in corporate events, festivals. Anytime you want it to be loud and pretty, that's what you call us for.
Yeah, that's really how we ended up making introductions ourselves. Is a pretty big music event, and you were doing all the stage lighting, sound, making the bass go boom, and the lights look pretty with the lasers. And I was doing video work, and then we connected from there. So
I prefer thud over boom.
okay, all right.
It's the same thing.
I like that. Fast forward a number of years, and now I've been fortunate enough to share a space in your studio. And the new studio space that you just moved into is like 5,500 square feet, right?
Yep.
Live
Just moved
stage.
out, yep.
And this happened literally going into the pandemic, a transition from another space to a much, much larger space with much, much higher overhead. Um, Out of curiosity, so the last time we had chatted, there's regulation, social distancing, essential work kind of stuff happening. Right now, you're in a position where you have pretty significant overhead with a lease on a really big property. You also have a number of workers that have been, kind of contract work, correct? They've been relying on at least some form of income due to gigs, and most, if not all, of what you do is considered gig work, correct?
At this point, almost 100% of what we do is what would definitely be called gig work. Most of our employees are not employees; they're 1099s. They're people who basically contract for whatever show we need them. We bring on people who are the right fit for the job. If you have a hippie love festival kind of thing going on, we have long-haired hippie people to bring. And if you have a corporate event, we have people who are clean shaven and have short hair and look the way a corporate employer would want them to look. So yeah,
Sure.
very gig based.
You understand the industry and you understand the different types of genre within that industry.
Yeah,
So,
sadly, it'd be great
I
if we
mean,
could put the right talent and not have to worry about looks and appearance, but that's not the way it works sometimes. Sadly.
it's funny that you say that though, because this is a conversation I've had with some friends and family about music festivals, and it's kind of tough for me. I mean, aside from right now, my hair is getting a little bit out there. Usually, I'm pretty trim cut. People tend to think that I either look law enforcement or military, and when you're at a music festival, it became like a joke where I just walk up to people and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Micah, and I'm not a cop." And like you kind of always get that banter, and for obvious reasons. But when you're running around with a camera, it is what it is. So understanding the industries, and it's never an issue when I'm in the corporate environment or where you're clean cut, clean
Right.
shaven, wearing the polo. But so before we had started our session, you chatted a little bit about an interesting situation that you found yourself in with your young son, and kind of like how do you mind sharing a little bit of that? This is a
No, it's been so. The way things happened here in Minnesota, the stay-at-home order came after they had decided they were going to shut down schools. So our son was a week before going on spring break, and every year for the fall break, the winter break, the spring break, and then for at least 2 weeks every summer, our son, he's 7.5, he'll actually be 8 at the end of May. Um, he goes up to my mom and her partner's place up in Duluth, which is great. He gets a very rewarding experience. He's got 2 little old ladies who basically just dote on him and make him pancakes whenever he wants, and he just absolutely loves it. He gets 2 adults who do nothing but pay attention to him, and then
right.
force him to learn stuff. We call it Grandma's boot camp sometimes. But this year, it worked out that my mom, his grandmother, called and said, "Hey, since all this stuff is going down, why don't we take him a week early?" And we said, "Fantastic," because we had no idea what the heck we were going to do. It was literally the week I was starting a new consulting position with a large multinational corporation. So, yep, that's great. I can't stay home that week, and I'm the one who ends up staying home because I have a very flexible schedule.
Yeah.
Now we're what, 6, 7 weeks after that, and we have not physically been near our son since we dropped him off the Tuesday before what would have been spring break, early March. And we came to the decision this week that due to the homeschooling that's going on and the quality of life that he has up there and the safety from the COVID virus that he has up there, we've decided to leave him there through the end of the school year, June 4th. Part of that is precipitated by the governor's decision here in Minnesota to keep schools closed through the end of the year. But part of it is also there are at least 2 days per week where we could not care for our son, and that would have required him to go to daycare, which completely negates all of the social distancing that we're doing to protect him, to protect us, to protect the people who come in contact with us due to our daily lives. We just couldn't come around to the concept of bringing him home in this situation. And I have to say, we're incredibly lucky that it's even possible for us to do this because so many other people are having to scramble and figure this out. But by the time we see our son, we'll have not seen him for over 3.5 months.
Is that the longest? Is that the longest that you would have?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the longest by 3+ months.
Right. Yeah.
He's never been apart from us for longer than 7 days.
Because even if he was somewhere else, at some point in time, you're reconnecting.
Yeah.
So I want to go down this route a little bit. It's something that I don't have kids myself that I have to, kind of manage their routines, their schooling. When is the end of the school year in Minnesota?
For his school, it's June 4th. It depends. Some schools are literally the week of Memorial Day. Some go all the way through June 8th, 9th, or 10th. It just depends on the school district that you're in. Our son's school ends on June 4th.
So do you know any other parents where they have kids that now essentially you are homeschooling or you're being asked to homeschool, where the parents, either they're an essential worker and they have to be out, where they, like, what would you even do? Especially single parents. Like if you're a single parent, you're an essential worker, you still have to make an income. Suddenly you're gone and you maybe have a 7-year-old or even younger, or, like, what do you even do with that?
So the way the state order works in Minnesota, the schools have to provide 2 meals a day and daycare, some type of daycare for children who are
Nice.
the children of essential workers. It's great, and it's free. It's totally free. State
so that
mandate.
changes things quite a bit from what I was anticipating. I'm like, good grief, like, what do you even do?
But that's only if you're an essential worker, and if you're still working but you're not an essential worker, what do you do there? There's a lot of people in a really tough position right now. The thing is, it's still destroying that social distancing fabric that we're trying to put in place. Because now you have 20 kids in a schoolroom, they're all carrying that stuff around. So it's a wonderful thing that they've put in place. I think they're doing the best they can. But we know that there are at least 3 rooms open at our son's school where there are adults taking care of these kids, feeding these kids. It's a much smaller environment than a normal classroom, but you're still putting multiple children, some of our riskier, population together, and just hoping that you're not passing it.
So what's your take on, in Minnesota, the tail end of last week, there were protests to open the economy. What's your take on what's going on with the economy? I mean, you're a business owner, because you're kind of in this position where it seems like you're taking it serious to the extent of, you would like to adhere to social distancing, but at the same time you've got this business that, we were talking, there's a finite amount of time that you can keep it shut down before it goes away, which is a scary thought because you've spent 2 decades or a lot more building 3, right? So 3 decades building this business, and you're talking maybe tail end of the summer, or in the fall, is like, if something doesn't change, then suddenly this is gone. So for you, where does that land? Where does it land you in terms of it's time to open up or maintain the lockdown, or how? What I guess, what are your thoughts?
So, so I'm extremely privileged, and I know that and recognize that. My consulting day job is what has supported my business for literally decades. I'm not an essential worker. I haven't had to go into an office other than by choice and of my own making. This is my office for my consulting company and for my audiovisual company. Um, so this is Curbside Productions corporate center right here. I've been able to work out of this space for the multinational corporation that I'm consulting with right now, and I'm making a really good wage. I make much well above average, and I know that, and I recognize that, and I'm extremely grateful for it. Um, I can support my business on the funds that my business had made. Curbside will survive on its own, would have survived on its own. I think the last time we spoke, I was looking at the end of June, things were going to start getting ugly. Since then, some of our clients have come through with their COVID relief funds, small business, the SBA loans and such. Um, Part of those monies are going to actually be coming towards us. So their money will be coming towards us. We haven't been approved yet for our application, so
Wow.
I don't have
How
any.
long? How long has it been since you applied?
3 weeks.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Any communications in terms of it's pending or they're processing or nothing?
they
What's
literally, if you
man?
apply for the loan, it says, "Here's your number. Don't call us. We'll call you." If they
So,
have any questions, they're supposed to send us out an email questionnaire. The only way they'll contact us is to let us know we've been approved or not.
and you haven't heard anything. So
Yeah,
3 weeks, 3 weeks, kind of just twiddling your thumbs and
big time.
wow.
But some of our clients have received their funding, or at least a facet of their funding, even just a portion. One of our major clients has said, "I'm going to pay you for every single show that I had on the books with you between now and when the doors open."
Wow.
So that right there gives us the influx of cash that we need to pay some people who were expecting some money, and now are positive they're not going to see it. It also gives us the ability to pay some of our bills. It just to keep the doors open and available for us to open is over $4,000 a month between the rent, the garbage, the utilities, the insurance.
Just operational.
Yeah, just day to day. If we do nothing, it costs me almost $4,300 a month to be alive at this point.
So based on what we know right now, it's the lockdown is pushed into May,
Hmm.
state ordered. How are you? Because being in a gig-based industry where you have to organize and you plan these gigs out in advance and schedule them, and you kind of you sometimes you might have to foot the bill in some instances, in some capacity to kind of make it happen. How are you managing that where you're looking at like maybe like because we don't really know who knows if there's a spike in deaths in Minnesota, maybe the governor's going to say, you know what, we're going to extend it 2 more weeks and 2 more weeks and 2 weeks. So how are you planning the move forward?
The gigs that are on the books, we are leaving on the books. We canceled all of our rentals. We canceled all of our reservations. Anything that we had that could potentially get canceled further down the road, we've canceled now. We proactively called all of our vendors and said, "We're not going to be taking this piece of equipment. We're not going to be using this gear. It's just not going to happen." They're all very understanding. They're close to closing their doors as well,
Right.
and nobody's doing anything right now in my industry. Nobody's doing anything.
Production.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah. Sound, lighting.
yeah. So they've all been very understanding. But I had paid a few of them before some of the cancellations came through. um, I haven't asked them for refunds, and I would be uncomfortable asking them for refunds because I know they have families that need to be fed as well. So that's a hit we took. It's a five-figure number that we ate. So
Wow.
yep. And what am I going to do? I'm not in a position where it's an industry that's very well knit, and so taking that, calling those vendors back up and saying, "I know I paid you $3,000, and now we're not going to use the equipment. I want my money back." Uh, it's not something that I feel comfortable doing. Number one. Number two, if I was them, I'd say no. It was an act of God. I'm not going to refund you your money.
And that's a real thing, though, isn't it? With insurance, there's something about an act of God or Mother Nature. There's some
But with,
stipulation.
yeah, with insurance, acts of God are almost always covered.
Oh,
Yep. So it's things like terrorism that they won't cover you for.
for
So
real?
yeah.
So wait. So like the thing that went down in Las Vegas with the active shooter,
Mhm.
I believe that was considered terrorism.
Yes.
So that
Not
wasn't
that.
covered through insurance. That is incredible. That's incredible.
Huge lawsuits over the World Trade Center about
Oh,
this was a terroristic act. Do we have to cover it?
incredible.
Yeah,
And yet, if there's a tornado that wipes out a state fair or something, then that's
it's covered. Act of
okay.
God. You couldn't protect yourself. There's nothing that could have been done to protect yourself against that. Therefore, the insurance will cover it.
Man, the angles in business. There's always angles, isn't there?
Yes.
Well, so I mean, it sounds like you're kind of just rolling with the punches and you're going with the flow, and you obviously, you as long as I've known you, you've always maintained a positive attitude, even when there's cables pulled and the rain starts falling. So it's
You got to get through it. You got to
yeah.
get through it.
Well,
So,
let me ask you this, and then I'll let you go. I know you're a busy guy. With later this summer into the fall, um, do you believe that there's a potential, like if there's a music festival, there's some music festivals you've been doing now annually for quite a while. Um, have all of those events, like the bigger events, have they all canceled already? Or are there any that are still on the books that are saying it's a chance that we can still do this? Do you think
we
it's possible?
we have one event, one large scale event at the end of September that has said we're not canceling until the last possible minute. They've also set up I don't want to call it a trust fund, but they basically a blind account that all ticket sales are going into. So
Hmm,
should they have to refund, they've already worked it out so they can give 100% refund back to anybody who says, "Well, I'm not going to be able to make the show," or if the show gets canceled, they will refund
sure.
100%. The big one that hurt us was we had one festival that claimed they were, no matter what, they were going to go on the first weekend in June. And we had committed that we were going to support that festival. And a week ago today, they actually called and said, "Yep, the state has said we cannot do our
Yeah,
festival." And that was that. I think it probably makes sense that they got canceled.
sure.
I respect them for making the decision, but it was like that one bright shining moment that you were waiting for, where maybe normalcy could come back as early
Sure.
as,
Right. I
but it
think
didn't.
everybody's got their fingers crossed that, maybe once the more numbers and models start becoming available and there's more scientific evidence of whatever is going on,
Yep.
that we'll be able to deduce a brighter, potential end result at the end of this year than may have been forecast a month ago.
Yeah. Here's what I'm seeing in the news and what I'm watching and what I feel is affecting us the most. All of the places that actually are following the stay-at-home orders and the suggestions, their rates are dropping pretty dramatically. And all the places that are ignoring it, their rates are going up pretty dramatically. So I feel like, you know, by lengthening the amount of time before your peak hits, I think we've done the right thing and given the hospitals and clinics the ability to ramp up and gear up and get things good to go. I hope that we turn a corner soon. And that's
Yeah.
all I can do is hope that we turn a corner soon.
Yeah. I think we're all in the same boat with the hope, maintaining the faith of, the best outcome in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you wanted to touch base on or share that weren't able to reach?
Uh, no, not at this point. The only thing I want to say is to everybody, all my gig-based friends and family out there, good luck to you. Hold on. I think we're getting closer to knowing what tomorrow is going to bring. It's
Yeah,
just how far out is tomorrow. That's the
outstanding. Well, Corey, I really appreciate your time and your insights. It's always a pleasure. To all the viewers and listeners, anybody that's interested in maybe learning more about production or getting involved in production or hiring, anybody that does sound, lighting, audio, visual, Corey's your guy, Curbside Productions, Minnesota. It'll be in the link or the About section below. Thanks again, Corey.
Thank you, Micah.
And for all viewers and listeners, stick around. We'll have more of this coming at you.
Have a good one.